Hi, everybody. We're on the homework for lesson 14. This is page 57, and I'm starting on the homework helper page. In class, in our problem set, we actually took rectangles and cut them. In our homework, they're asking us to imagine that we've cut it. So if we had this rectangle and we cut it into two rows, we would cut straight across here and we would look at it like this. They want us to imagine in our heads what it would look like, and then draw them, okay? So you can either do it into columns or into rows, all right? So now on page, oopsie, that's not right. I need page, no, that is right. Sorry, 59 and 60. We are going to imagine that we have just cut this rectangle into rows. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take with my pencil, I'm going to actually draw where those cuts would be. Oopsie, broke my pencil. So I can now kind of more clearly see what I need to draw, right? So I need to draw a row that has 4 squares. So, So I need to draw them kind of small because I need to draw 3 of them. But there's 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then a third row. 1, 2, 3, 4. It's not going to be perfect, but we're going to just do our best to draw what we would see in our imagination. The question says how many squares are in each row? 1, 2, 3, 4. So we have 3 rows that have 4 in each. Now, imagine that we cut this rectangle into columns instead. So we would be cutting along these lines now. So we're going to have 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. We need to have 4 columns. So 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Now I have 4 columns. And how many squares are in each of those columns? 3. We are now going to create another rectangle using the same number of squares. So we need to know how many squares we have here. I have 4 and 4, which is 8, and 4 more, which is 12. Is it going to be any different here? 3 and 3 is 6, 3 and 3 is 6, 6 and 6 is 12. So I need to draw another rectangle that has 12 squares, but it cannot be 4 columns and 3 rows. It needs to be a different rectangle that has 12 squares. Now, we could just turn this sideways and do 3 columns with 4 rows, or we could do different numbers completely. And I think that's what I'm going to do. I think I'm going to draw an array that has 2 columns, and it's got 6 in each column. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now I know that 6 and 6 is 12. So each row has 1, 2, and each column has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 2 times 6 is 12. 2 plus 2 plus 2 plus 2 plus 2 plus 2 is 12. And 6 plus 6 is 12. You could do 3 columns that have 4 rectangles in each column, just turning this one sideways. That would be another way of showing 12. Here we would have 1, 2, 3 squares in each row, and 1, 2, 3, 4 squares in each column. So there are different ways to do it. You can do it both ways if you'd like, or you can choose which one you want, and you can pause to catch up. I'm going to move on to page 60. On page 60, we're doing the same thing again. We are going to cut this rectangle into rows. So across this way. We cut it into rows. How many of these rows are we going to have? 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 across. So I'm actually going to do it this way first. I'm going to draw my rectangle. 1, 2, 3. Oh, goodness, barely enough room. 4 rows, and I'm going to put 5 in each row. So 1, 2, 3, 4 lines. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I'm going to just repeat those lines down below. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Good. How many squares are in each row? We had 5 of them. Now, imagine that you cut the rectangle into columns instead. So this time, we're cutting along these lines because we're going to separate the columns. And again, I'm going to start with my rectangles because, boy, this is a very small space for drawing this. We need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 columns. There's 3, 4, 5 columns, and I need 1, 2, 3, 4 in each column. How many squares are in each column? 4. So each row has 5, each column has 4. So we have 5 plus 5 plus 5 plus 5. Counting by 5s, we have 5, 10, 15, 20 altogether, right? It doesn't change here, even though we're adding 4 plus 4 plus 4 plus 4 plus 4. It's still going to be 20. So now they want us to make another rectangle using 20 squares. Now, if you want to, you can get out your tiles that we've been using the last few days, and you can count out 20 of them and find a way to make a new rectangle. We could take this rectangle and turn it that gives us a different array. That means we only have 4 columns. 1, 2, 3, 4. And we're going to have 5 going down. One, two, three, four, 5. So now I'm going to draw that line straight across. This is the opposite of this. It's this one if we turned it sideways. So now we have 4 across and 5 down. So we would have 4 plus 4 plus 4 plus 4 plus 4 in our rows. And we would have 5 plus 5 plus 5 plus 5 in our columns instead of the opposite way up here. We could also do 2 rows. And if we have 20 tiles, how many would need to be in each row if we had 2 rows? We would need 10 in each row. So I can make a tile. I'm going to split it, into 10 separate pieces. Well, let's split it in half and then say you need 5 on each side. So then 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They got a little small there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So now this is also 20. But this time it would be 10 plus 10, or 2 plus 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 2. And either way, it's going to equal 20. So if I did this array, how many squares are in each row? 4. And how many squares are in each column? 5. If I did this array, how many squares are in each row? 10. And how many squares are in each column? 2. So that is it for the homework today. If you're not quite clear on what we were doing, I urge you to go back through the video again and use your tiles to actually build the squares, or cut out the rectangle that they showed you at the top and try to rebuild it and regroup it so that it makes more sense. I will see you next time, everybody.